1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on episode 35, a number only special because it's half of 70. Blue.
Yay!
Why do you keep this? He started this last time and he's still doing it. The moment I'm about to say go, he shouts something weird in my ear. Oh my god.
The thing is, with that last one, you kept so fucking cool and I cracked myself up. I'm that immature.
Oh my god. But yeah, we're back, episode 35. This is significantly later in the morning than we normally record this.
Yeah, on this beautiful gloomy day in March?
It is still March, yeah.
It is still March, yeah. It's almost Easter. Hell yeah.
This podcast will actually go out in April, I think. Maybe. What day is it?
Oh shit, I guess the end of this month you're going to be doing an Easter-themed quiz. I hadn't even thought of that.
That'll be cool, yeah. We haven't had a theme in a while.
Do I get a chocolate prize if I win?
Yeah, I'll ship it to the UK. It may be melted by then.
You send like this beautifully crafted chocolate bunny, it gets to my side and it's like this horrific mess of like deformed chocolate.
Oh my god. It just looks like somebody sat on it. Oh my god. Oh god, yeah, this is already a horrible mess.
Do you want to start off today?
With topics? I mean,
what shall I?
Why don't you start us off? Because you said you actually had something, and what I had, was only so.
I have. So, guys, you know this already, but for everyone else out there, we have often used the term No Man's Sky to describe a game that is so overflawed with hype that it blows all expectation out the water, and it automatically becomes a disappointment of a game before it's even been released.
Yeah.
So, I decided, I was watching YouTube, like last week or something, and I saw someone talking a bit about where No Man's Sky has gone from since the big scandal.
Yeah, I mean, we talked
like,
a bit about this. Like, just throwing them back to the last week's podcast. We talked about it a little bit, if you want to hear more. Video game hype.
Yes, so I was like, oh, maybe I'm in the wrong, and the developers of the game I think they're called Hello World. Pardon me.
Sounds about right.
They have kept working on the project, even though they're not getting any more funding. As far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Labor of love.
They have released so many patches. And so I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to go back and give it another go. And if it works out really well, I'll even drag Kaiser back into it. So I boosted up the game. Instantly, it's a lot more aesthetically pleasing, I would say. There's the game modes, there's different game modes out. There's the first screen you come across, you're able to choose whether you want to play multiplayer in just the general whole universe, or whether you want to make it a single player campaign, as it were. But you can also invite your friends to that, which I think is brilliant. So absolutely marks up for that. They actually have multiplayer capacity now. I got into the game, and for a start, when you load into the game, whether it's creating a new account or loading a previous save, it takes about 5 minutes to get past the loading screen. Which I think is probably one of the longest loading screens I've ever seen. And I played Skyrim on the PS3. So yeah, it's like a vastly long time, and it is a bit laggy when you finally get in. But when I get in, I am honestly mildly disappointed because I was really hoping there would be all this like archaeology and deep sea diving and stuff, and I'm sure I just haven't got to that point yet. But I've been playing it for quite a few hours now, and I really have not seen hide nor hair of any new content.
I honestly thought that you were going to... That's not the result I expected.
No, it was not the result I expected. I thought, because there's all this new stuff, what I think they've done is that at the late game, where all the people who stuck by the game the whole time have access to, is where all this amazing new technology and stuff is. But for me, it was just a massive slog. It was a grind.
Yeah.
You need to keep an eye on your... For a start, if you're on a cold planet or a radioactive planet or some planet that has bad atmosphere, you have to recharge your shields about every 5 minutes, which you need a particular kind of material for. On top of that, you need to harvest oxygen to breathe on all planets. You need to harvest carbon to keep your mining laser filled, because if you don't have a mining laser, you can't get any materials. So that's immediately 3 equivalents of food that you need to have constantly about you. And then your ship needs fuel to jump off the ground. It needs fuel for hyperspeed in space. And then even... So I unlocked a chest about 3 hours into the game, I think, approximately. And whilst I love the fact that it wasn't just like a normal wooden little fucking box, right? Which you get in almost every game. No, they made this vault-sized cube of metal, which I was like, oh, hell yeah, that's really cool, it's innovative, brilliant. It needs power to be able to open it. Which, considering you don't get solar panels until you have literal gold, means that I have to fill a generator. I have to build a generator. I have to fill that generator with carbon, and there's no way of pausing the generator as far as I'm aware. So every time you want to open a storage box, you have to find carbon to fuel the generator to open the box. There was just a lot. Everything, doing any small thing feels like a big grind, as well as just keeping yourself alive is included within that. So I'm sure late game, where you have automatically health refilling stations and technology that auto mines shit for you or something, I don't know. I'm sure it's really cool at that point, but at the moment, my character can't speak to any species because he hasn't learnt the fucking alphabets of each of the different species yet. That's not even a joke. You have to
No, I remember
stones, with words
that was still in the original version of the game, the one that was out back, whenever the hell I played it in 2016.
Yeah. And clearly there's a list of words, and it just starts at the top and moves down, because at the moment I'm currently learning 2-letter words. So I'm learning it is a word. 2, you, he, all that kind of shit. And it feels like it's taking forever. The slog is so long.
Oh my god.
Again, I think it will be a brilliant game if you have a large community, of all people working together. If you send one person off to just gather carbon, no one has to think about the carbon. Same thing with oxygen and sulfur. But solo playing through that game, at least in the early stages, is boring as fuck. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to make you play it.
I'm actually kind of disappointed by that result. I was, as much as I have harped on about how bad that game was when it came out, and this is actually a good lead into the topic that I had, but the as bad as that game was when it first came, bad maybe is the wrong word, but boring as fuck. There was no gameplay at all in it. So it sounds like they've added gameplay, but a lot of that gameplay is a slog.
Yeah.
I saw this stuff about people building houses and building bases and doing all this shit. Maybe that's late game.
No, I've built so every time I went to a new world, I was a list of things in my head that I felt like I had to do, which is build a house in case there's a storm, because storms will just instantly kill you. But I don't know when they appear, and they seem totally random. So, so I built a house. I then have to build a generator to attach to a teleporter, teleporter's super early thing that you get in the game, so you can teleport between planets.
Yeah.
And so I was doing it on every planet I got on, and it would take about 40 minutes. So that would kind of just feel like another slog, because I'd get to a planet, refill my shit so I didn't automatically die, get the materials for a building, get the materials for a generator, get the materials for a teleporter, link the teleporter up, move on to the next planet.
So you're just basically restarting the game every 40 minutes.
Yeah, you could make a freaking, like, a script to do this shit. There was some variation on the different planets. It was really cool, don't get me wrong. I went to, like, frost planets that were all just snowy and horrible. I went to tropical planets that were beautiful and I had, like, flying elephants. Very cool. I love the flying elephants. But there wasn't enough variation between them that would make the slog any less painful. Sorry, Go on.
No, just that really does kind of... I was looking forward to going back to that game and finding reasons to hate it, but you've beat me to it.
Yeah, I don't hate the development team. I think it's really cool that they kept working on it, because I know a lot of studios would just say, it's a failure, let's just move on to the next game. I appreciate that they kept working on it. I just think that the early game has not been optimized. They've been looking at the end game, where arguably most of their player base is. And yeah, I think it's just a bit of a shame, because I would like to play that game. I would like to support a development team that goes the extra mile.
So the topic that made me think of that I wanted to kind of go into, and maybe it doesn't really... So when I played this game in 2016 when it first came out, I was really disappointed. I think I played it for a total of 4 hours and was like, is this really it? And then dumped it, never looked back, tried to get a refund on Steam. They refused, and so I wrote a negative review and then called it a day. Now, you see, like, the game's got tons of positive reviews now. Like, the overall reviews are still mixed, because they go all the way back to the original, but the most recent ones are all very positive on Steam. So what I'm thinking is there a point where you can say... This may be a wider topic than just video games, and I think I want to discuss it in the wider context, but we'll use this as a jumping off point. People, and, well, in this case, game developers finding redemption, essentially. Like, they've fucked up. They released an unfinished product that had basically no content. They went through the backlash that brings, but then, like you said, they kept working on it, kept patching it, kept adding content. Now the game is arguably, pretty good.
I would say it's at the point right now where if they'd released this at the original release date, I think there wouldn't have been a problem. Yeah,
it's 4 years on now. Almost 5, actually, now that I think about it. But that's the thing. Like, I was going to say, and I was thinking about this while you were talking, before you had revealed that, the game's still not really that fun at the early stages. I was thinking that I really don't think I'd ever go back and change that negative review to something positive. And then I was kind of, again, self-reflection there, trying to think, well, why is that? And I think I came to the conclusion while, listening to what you were saying there, that, that they've spent an extra 5 years, like, making the game playable. And you're right, people who play it now, they're gonna, find a maybe painful experience in the early part, but some people like that, like, grindy, repetitive kind of gameplay. I mean, there's a reason MMOs exist. But the people, I think that those negative reviews from the initial launch should stay there. I don't think people should go back and change them to positive, because there's something that just seems wrong about, essentially erasing the fact that this game was a shit show when it was released.
I don't think anyone will forget that this was a shit show when it was released.
It's true, maybe, but I mean, this actually kind of ties back into what I was talking about last week with the Mass Effect, the ass gate.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of sort of
forgetting the origins.
Yeah, forgetting the origins, revising history. Maybe it's because I spend so much time, reading and looking into history. I don't like that idea. But in terms of the developers themselves, I think that, this reflects very positively on them. Any developer that's going out of their way to, I don't know, to, despite the bad, it would have been much easier to go like, oh, well, we fucked up. Sorry, guys, game's a failure, and move on.
Yeah.
Now, what that would have meant for their studio, who knows? But the fact that they stuck with it, kept patching it, and really put their heart into making this game closer to what they originally promised, I think that speaks volumes for them. It's one of the reasons why I still don't, despite all the flack that CD Projekt Red got, I still have a lot of respect for that studio, because the Witcher series was absolutely brilliant. Other games they've put out have been brilliant around that. And Cyberpunk, if I'm being honest, wasn't. The story was great. The voice acting was great. But it was buggy as fuck.
I literally watched the zero punctuation for Cyberpunk this morning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I will say that a lot of the fun I had with that game was in the glitches, like in the moment-to-moment gameplay, seeing what the hell would happen next. But the fact that they've also stuck with it. They've been patching it, like, religiously. They've been, doing all these hot fixes and bug fixes and patching in, like, content. And they've still stated that they're going to keep their promise to put out, like, free DLC for the game. And I look forward to going back and playing the game again and seeing how much it's changed. I will miss seeing characters in very emotional cutscenes with guns sticking out of their heads, but, I've got the video recording, so I can always look back if I'm nostalgic.
Keep losing their way over to you.
But let's take that to kind of a broader context, because I feel like we've been focusing a lot on video games the last couple podcasts, which, of course, it's a mutual interest. It's something that we both spend a lot of time on. But I want to take that kind of idea like a little bit broader, like just people in general. Like somebody does something bad or does something not even bad, just in bad taste, maybe poorly timed, makes some kind of a mistake. I get it seems like it's becoming more and more culturally acceptable just to think that person is bad forever, right?
Right.
Like it kind of the black mark follows them for the rest of their life. I'm not talking about like really horrendous things like, going out and, shanking somebody in the street just because you felt like it. I'm talking about like, mundane day-to-day kind of bad things. It could even just be like, getting into a fight with a spouse or something like that.
Yeah. Have you... Sorry, just saying that kept coming into my mind when you were talking about this. Have you seen the Viva La Dirt League shame video?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'll link it to you after this.
Okay.
But no, I agree. Sorry, my mind took a tangent. Go on.
It's fine. I don't, also that I just whacked, my teacup on the teapot, and it clanged through the mic. I don't know, it's just, I didn't really have any particular direction to go with that. It's just been something that's been sitting on my mind lately as I watch in all forms of media just these hate spirals, and it's just like, come on. Yeah. Calm down. Like, these are all other human beings here.
It is mostly social media as well, because people don't...
Yeah.
It's kind of a dichotomy where in real life I feel like people don't speak up when they should do.
Yeah.
And online I feel like people overextend how far they should speak.
Yeah. Well, I think more than anything, Twitter is just a cesspool these days. And it spreads really, really stupid and shitty ideas. So, we talked about this, and again, we'll try to steer away from any of the political bits of this, or at least taking a side politically. But you had some riots near you recently.
Yep, I've had 3, I think, now.
Yeah. So if you remember, if you've been listening to this podcast for a long time, or if you go back in our backlog, I think it was early on. It was in the first 10 podcasts, I think, because it was something that was going on in the U.S. at the time. You know, there was wide-scale protests, and some of them turned into riots and stuff.
Yeah, there's been a lot of... I mean, I don't want to make it anything political, because I know there are people on both sides of this that will probably be listening. But, yeah, there was a lot of riots because the police in England were going to have the ability to shut down a demonstration, or what's it called?
Protest, anything, any kind of public gathering.
If, or at least they could ask a person to leave that protest if they were exceeding a certain noise limit, or if it got past a certain time. So, like, if it's getting late into the night, they can ask people to just go home.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I think I don't know why anyone would want to peacefully protest past, like, 10 p.m., I guess.
I don't know. Well, I mean, people did, like, sit-ins and hunger strikes in, like, the 60s and 70s, so, you know, maybe if you're passionate enough, you want to do something like that. Me, personally, I'd want to go get dinner.
Dragging it back to Twitter real quick.
Well, I was going to tie this into Twitter. Oh, okay. That's why I was bringing that up. Because I saw pictures from that, protest that devolved into a riot. There was like a defaced police car, and it had a political slogan on it that had nothing to do with the UK. It said I think it was abolish ICE. They're the border security people in the US. Why are you defacing a British police car with that? And then it occurred to me, I'm like, this is the Twitter thing, where you're in this tiny bubble on Twitter, and it doesn't matter if you're in, like, somewhere in the US or somewhere in the UK, you get these slogans that all just mix together, and people forget what they actually mean, and they do something that nonsensical. Anyway, sorry, what you were going to say something about Twitter? You were...
So what I've posted a couple of things to you. For some reason, currently in the UK, trending is Satan. And I don't understand what the fudge is going on, but it seems like some guy said he would, like, do a lap dance for Satan. And I don't know why Twitter's taken this up, but...
Yeah, I'm reading this quote here that you just sent me. This is some random Twitter account posted this with a picture of a sad raccoon. And the quote is, "Watching the funny gay cowboy lap dance for Satan makes me think going to hell for being gay ain't so bad anymore."
And look at this, I just saw.
And then somebody
answers back.
Somebody with the account Satan. If anyone see my boy Little Nas, someone tell him Satan said he thick. Oh my, what the fuck?
This is how stupid Twitter is.
Oh my god. Yeah,
there's just so many dumb memes, and oh my god, you can get away with using that word on Twitter?
Is it something we can say on the podcast?
No.
Can you send it to me?
I'll just send you the... Oh, hang on.
Yeah, oh my god.
Like, is there just no rules? Or, like, I agree there shouldn't be many rules for what people can and can't say, but at the same time, like, come on.
Well, I mean, that's one of the problems that people have with a lot of the main social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, all of them. I'm trying to think of another one. Not YouTube so much. And YouTube's less of a social media platform anyway. But they apply their rules very, very subjectively. So it, like, rather than having a rule like, okay, no, I'm just going to use a very mundane example. No one can use the word butt cheeks. There we go. That's their rule. A fair way to enforce that would be, anyone says that word, they get a warning, then maybe they get a strike, then maybe they get a ban or a suspension or whatever. What actually happens is that if you use that word and you are not a butt cheek enthusiast, let's say, you get banned. And if you use that word and you don't. It's just... If they had a more level... And it's never going to be perfect, because it's humans moderating this stuff. They've tried letting AI moderate, like, Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and it has hilarious results.
Yeah, people, like, break AIs very easily by talking to them.
Do you remember... this is going to be another tangent, but I just... This is one of my favorite stories, just from, internet lore.
This is the Microsoft one.
Yeah, Microsoft Tay.
Yeah, and 4chan got to her.
It was 4chan that started it, but then there was just like everybody else just decided to jump on. So This was a few years back. Microsoft released an AI on Twitter called like Taybot, and it was supposed to talk and sound like I don't know, like a 16-year-old girl essentially. And so it was basically, and the idea was it would learn from its environment, and it would talk and learn, and eventually it would, they were trying to make like a social media AI that could potentially like pass a Turing test. For those who don't know, the idea of a Turing test is you have an AI talking to a human and a human talking to a human, and the human doesn't know which is which, and if the human can't tell them apart, like reasonably, without like guessing which one is which, then the AI is said to have passed the Turing test. They were trying to do this with like a social media AI. The problem is people started trolling it, and within like it only took like half a day or something like that, and they got this AI to just say the most vile, horrible things. Like,
because it doesn't know what it's saying. It's a fucking robot.
No, exactly. It judged things based on the interactions it got from people and how many likes it got and things like that. And that was so. In a way, it was actually a really good representation of the sort of things social media can do to your psyche, because people will just judge what they're like, how good what they're saying or doing is by how many people like and retweet and whatever. But that's what the AI did, and it I wish I could say some of the things that it said on here, but I won't. But look it up. It is a hilarious, like, not the things it said. The things it said were really fucked up, but the fact that these people like just got together. It wasn't like a coordinated effort. It was just a group of random people on the internet that decided to fuck with Microsoft's AI. And it worked, and it worked so quickly.
And that's all. China made their own.
Did they?
Yep, and theirs actually worked because people were terrified of, I think,
Oh yeah.
Of messing with it in their country, and so I think it's still around today.
What?
Where people can just like log on and talk to this AI when they're feeling down.
Well, oh my god! Did we watch Demolition Man for movie night at all, or have you seen it?
I can't remember.
Okay, well, if we haven't, we should watch.
That's Cage, isn't it? Right?
No. It's oh fuck, who is it? The Rambo, the guy who played Rambo.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, him and Jamie Foxx. I think it's him and Jamie Foxx. I'm trying to remember who his co-star was. Anyway, right. There's a point in the beginning of the movie. It's like set in a dystopian Los Angeles in the early 2000s. I say dystopian, but it's more like everyone is very neutered. Like everything is very
politically correct.
Yeah, you get fined $1 for swearing, that sort of thing. And there's a scene in the early part of the movie where this guy he's in a phone booth and he's getting like therapy, and like he just presses a button. He's like, "Oh, I'm feeling sad," and the phone booth goes, "Don't feel sad. You're a wonderful, happy person. You bring happiness and joy to everyone around you." And that's what that reminded me of when you're talking about an AI that you talk to and it just makes you feel better.
That reminds me of a Valorant game where everyone's like, "Nice try," when you've just eaten shit.
Somehow it sounds like an insult when that happens.
Yeah, but also, I was just gonna say the last thing. Japan also had an AI.
Oh,
and theirs was about as equally broken as America's. And I think it was just very, very lewd. And I think it was an anime character as well. I could be wrong.
that is odd. That I would really love to see how that would work. Like, release one of these AIs in like every country and see how it's affected.
How it breaks.
Because in the US, like, basically people just got it to say the most vile, awful things imaginable, just because they could. And in Japan,
mostly relating to the 1940s.
Yeah, specifically the bad guys in World War II. Thank you, YouTube, for making me talk like a child.
Yeah, right.
There was, and then in Japan they made it, also say vile things, but it was very, very lewd things. And in China, it was perfectly polite and normal because everyone was terrified to fuck with it.
Yeah.
That's you know about like China's whole social credit system, right?
No.
Okay. Quick breakdown, and we're coming up on the end, so this will probably be the last thing we talk about. But in China, they've been implementing this. Essentially, you have like with actual credit, you have a credit score, right?
Yeah.
So like in anything above for credit scores, I think anything above 600 is pretty good. Like 800 is amazing and above, and then once you get below like 500 or so, then you're in the shit box. And anything below like 200, no one's going to give you a loan.
Right.
In China, they're doing the same thing, but for like social like interactions. So
that's like the fucking Black Mirror episode.
That's what it. I don't know if that episode was based on this, or something, or they just thought of it independently. But yeah, basically that.
Ugh, that's horrible.
But they actually have that, and depending on what your social credit score is, you might not be able to do plane travel. You might have to take trains. You might not be able to get loans. You might not be able to buy property. You might not be able to travel internationally. You might be restricted to your province if it gets low enough. And they're basically using it. They're using social media as a way to moderate and control human behavior. It's a horrendous thing, but it's fascinating from a technological and social science perspective.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just thinking about the Black Mirror episode because that's obviously horrendous what happens.
Yeah, it's like that, pretty much, and it's happening in real life.
That's forget the fucking AI's taking over. Humans are bad enough.
This has been a very depressing segment.
Well, no, I think it started out pretty nice.
No, it started out hopeful, and then you're like, yeah, it's still not that good.
Well, there was a Satan lap dance.
That's the positive bit? Oh my god. Alright. Oh, shit. Alright, we're gonna move on to the to segment 2 now. And look forward to that. We actually had a movie night this week. But yeah. This has been segment 1 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you'll hear us again momentarily for segment 2. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 2, our media segment, and we had to redo the intro to this one a little bit because Blue shouted beans at the top of his lungs into my ear. I jumped and I clicked the drop down instead of the record button.
Oh, worth it. Oh dear.
We did do movie night this week, and
guys, what did we watch in movie night today?
Today.
This week.
We watched Kindergarten Cop, a movie. I actually haven't seen a whole lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies. I kind of know quotes from him just because, it's funny to do his voice.
Unanimously famous.
Yeah. It's just fun to do his voice. Just the, get to the chopper. Ah. California is sinking.
I don't think I've ever seen it before. This one. How legit. Very funny. Very funny.
Very funny and very, like, the movie came out in, I think it was 1990.
Yeah.
And so, very early 90s. And it had that feel to it. Like, oh god, there was so many good things about that movie that just, like, so many, like, okay. I'm gonna go through the plot. So, again, spoilers, but honestly, the movie's been out there for 30 years, so, you know, if you haven't seen it at this point, like I hadn't, it's your own damn fault. So, the movie opens up, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is this kind of, he's an undercover cop, and he's pursuing this guy with a terrible ponytail, who is in a shopping mall, and he gets some, it's established, he gets some info from this kind of sketchy-looking dude who's got, like, kind of another sketchy-looking girl with him. They're like, oh, we're going to get some money and go off together or something or whatever. Anyway, the whole thing's messed up. He gives the guy the info. The guy's apparently looking for his family who have run off somewhere. Like, his wife ran off and took his kid, and he's...
We're talking about Ponytail Dude.
We're talking about the gang. I'll call him Ponytail Dude. Talking about him. He had some weird name, like Crisp or Pip or something like that. Doesn't matter.
Let's call him Crispy.
All right. Crispy Ponytail is talking to the sketchy guy, and Ponytail guy is terrible at negotiating. He talks himself down from $1,000 to like $500. Crispy looks at the guy and is like, "No, don't worry, I'll take care of you." Pulls out a silenced pistol, shoots him in the chest. Then walks off, throws the pistol in a garbage bin, like a trash compactor, and then goes off. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's the undercover cop, finds the dead guy, and the girl who's with him and like freaking out, and she's like, he tells her to stay put, because he's gonna need her as a witness, and she's like, no, I'm getting the hell out of here. So he handcuffs her to the dead body, and then goes running off to chase this guy, and then finds him talking to his mother, who's also clearly some kind of a gang person, and puts a gun to the back of his head and says he's under arrest and whatever. And there's this hilarious moment where all of the security in the mall, they've all got their guns out, because he's just in a nail salon, with a drawn pistol to the back of this guy's head. He's like, don't worry, I'm a cop. And he shows him the badge and everything. And anyway, this is all just to set up who their characters are. It then goes to the interrogation. They realize that they're not going to get anything out of the guy, so they need the woman to, identify someone in a lineup. She's freaked out. She's pissed off that Arnold, handcuffed her to a dead body. And so she runs off. They can't hold her, and it looks like Crispy's going to walk. So Arnold goes after the girl, finds her in like a drug den, blows the place up with a shotgun, like just insanely over the top. It was like a Terminator scene, which I guess makes sense because it was him. And he creeps her out and convinces her to, identify him in a lineup. She does. So that's enough to at least hold him, but it's not enough to necessarily convict him. So they need more evidence or something. So they need basically to find this guy's wife and get her to testify against him. And so that gives Arnold and his partner the task of going upstate undercover to try and ID the woman and find her kid, because they don't have a good description of the woman or the kid. They have a very young baby photo of the kid and a vague image of what the wife looks like. They get up there, and the female officer is supposed to go undercover as a kindergarten teacher because she used to be a teacher before she joined the police force or something like that. I don't remember. It's very quickly established. It's kind of a throwaway thing. It doesn't matter, because she gets horrible food poisoning on the way up, and then Arnold has to take over and be the substitute teacher. So you got this big, burly, like, flat top, military-looking dude who's going to go undercover as a kindergarten teacher. And it is hilarious. Everyone's skeptical about it. And even the principal is just like, I don't like this. Do you have any teaching experience? And Arnold kind of soft lies, just, would they have sent me if I didn't? And, of course, he has no teaching experience, and the kids, like, run him ragged on the first day. But over the course of the movie, he's able to, like, be good for the kids and, like, discipline them and get them to, like having him as a teacher. And eventually, the movie culminates. Crispy gets out of jail and on bail or something like that, and then he heads upstate because he knows his wife's up there, and there's a big showdown between him and Arnold, and they end up saving the guy and his wife, and the guy's wife and Arnold end up falling for each other over the course of the movie. Before they even knew who each other were, Arnold didn't know she was the woman, and she didn't know he was a cop. But they go through this arc, and has a very wholesome ending. And I think Crispy gets shot in the chest.
Wow, that was a very intense description of the first third of the film, followed by a very brief outro for the rest of it.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of detail packed in that first part that kind of establish who everyone is. And the rest of the movie, it's very light on details, and it's just really entertaining. And plus, what happens in the rest of the movie is what I want to talk about with you. So I left it off of the plot summary.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I thought there was a particular point.
Well, I'll start with one of them. One of the things I kept thinking throughout this movie is like, oh my god, this would get so much flack if it was made today.
Yeah, absolutely. The slight homophobia, I guess.
My. Well, I wouldn't even call it slight homophobia. Like, it was just the scene I'm thinking of is in the very beginning. It's like day 2 or 3 of him teaching, and the parents are all like there are 3 mothers, standing around. It's also established early on in the movie that this town is like the capital in it's the capital in California. It's where a lot of people go to like run away from bad relationships, essentially. So there's 3 mothers kind of standing around in a circle, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Jacob told me that he has a new substitute teacher, and you know what? It's a male kindergarten teacher. Oh, he must be gay." And then they turn around because the kid's like, "Oh, mom, that's him," and they look, and it's Arnold walking up in a polo shirt. He's like flexing as he walks. And the one mother's like, oh my god, he can't see me. And I was like, I don't have makeup on today. And she's like, the other mother's like, neither do I. And she's like, well, you're already married. Like, you can look schlubby. Or something like that. So there is a couple jokes like made, like it's very, very weird that there's a male kindergarten teacher. Which,
yeah,
let's be fair, it is rare. I don't think I'm trying to think back.
I don't know how rare it is, because I mean, everyone thinks, when you think of a nurse, you think it's a female role because that's the way it used to always have to be.
Yeah.
I think there are a vast number of like male nurses these days, and it could be the same with kindergarten teachers. I don't really know because I don't hang around hospitals or schools.
I'm thinking back. I went to kindergarten around this time. So this movie came out in 1990. I would have been in kindergarten in like 92 or 93.
Yeah.
So like 3 years later, and all of the kindergarten teachers in my school were female. And in fact, in 1st and 2nd grade, all of the teachers there were female.
Right.
Maybe not 2nd grade, but 1st grade. So I think I don't think it's probably more common today, but I do think that working with children, especially in like an educational role when they're that young, I do think it's something that attracts more women than men.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I think like nursing, it's probably going to be men in those roles are probably going to be a little bit more common these days.
I mean, I know with the course that Alyssa's on, there's like 2 guys in the whole year.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, okay, yeah, I guess the stereotypes still do live in these kinds of industries, but I mean, it must be getting better.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of stereotypes, or I don't think it's something that needs to get better. I think it's just people are interested in different things, and I know this is a very controversial thing to say these days, but men and women are different. Like,
I think when we were growing up, men and women were a lot more different because we were kind of, at the time, it was the norm that men were meant to do certain things and women were meant to do certain things. And so, yeah, I think our generation as men and women are more different in modern day than kids who are growing up now. I think the line's a lot more blurred, so when they get to our age, I think they will be more similar than to one another than we are to our opposite gender today.
I can get behind that. I guess what I'm trying to say is, so there's two things that like make people distinct from one another. So we keep on the subject of men and women. Like, you essentially have cultural and biological things that make people distinct. In terms of how they act and the sort of things they'll pursue and do in life. So yes, I think that those cultural pressures, like when we were growing up, those have definitely lessened now, and so that is going to go away. But so there's always going to be biological differences, and some of that comes down to, again, I guess that it's so weird to me that this is controversial, but because I don't know why I'm choosing my words so carefully with this.
There are fundamental differences between men and women.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can dispute that.
I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent. I know we're supposed to be talking about a movie here, but there's this weird sort of unspoken rule when discussing matters of biology. We can talk about how genetics will make you taller or shorter or more muscular or more skinny or whatever. But there seems to be this idea that we have to stop talking about biological influences once it goes above the neck. Like, you can't talk about how biology affects your brain. But you will see that, like, from generation to generation, like, two very smart people will tend to have a very smart kid. And some of that is down to the fact that they're probably going to be raising them to be very intelligent. But some of that is down to genetics. And it weirds me out that people are uncomfortable. Actually, you know what? I think I know why that is. It's probably because, like, let's say in the mid 20th century, there were quite a few fairly nasty ideologies that were birthed from looking at genetic influences on people.
Right.
So, without going too deep into that, yes, stereotyping, whatever. Anyway, but that's a theme throughout the movie, is that he's this very manly man as a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah. I think part of the reason that it's so taboo is that I don't think many people actually understand it. Like, I know for a fact I don't understand how the workings of how two people who are intelligent could make a more intelligent baby, right? I get the vague idea of, like, the DNA of the two, just it works well.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I'm no fucking scientist on it. And I think it's the same with a lot of people. Yeah,
that's actually a good point. People do tend to balk and be a little uncomfortable discussing things they don't fully get. At least some people. I see plenty of people out there shouting and crying about stuff they have no idea what they're talking about. But it's honestly, it's a fairly new field of study, because we're only just now, now that we've got the human genome mapped, we're only now starting to figure out what genes code for what. So, like, one of the first ones they figured out was, like, eye color, essentially, They found the genes that code for that. They found genes that code for... they were looking for ones that code for, like, propensity to get cancer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
it's a fascinating field of study, and one that has a pretty vast
It's boundless research you can do on it.
yeah, but there's also like fairly vast opportunities to misuse the information that's taken out of that. So it's something that I think ethics is going to be very, very important as that field advances.
When people start wanting like test tube babies that are perfect in every way.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's wrong to want to give a child the best start in life. And at the same time, I'm not someone who I personally do not have. I'm not religious, so the whole thing about God didn't make them, so they're not a person or something. I understand why people think that way because of religion. I don't share that belief. I think it's fine to make a test tube child, but I think there are things that should not be messed with just because you can. Like, making a child a particular, like, setting their height DNA or something. I don't know. It's not really important.
It's a very vague line, and it's going to be a very contentious thing, I think, in the 21st century, because you've got, I don't think anyone would argue, well, most people I don't think would argue against doing a little gene manipulation to reduce the child's chance of getting cancer. Or to, if you found out they were going to have some sort of a genetic, like, disorder that would make their life very difficult, correcting that before they were born. That sort of thing, I think a lot of people, again, if they're not opposed to it on, religious grounds, a lot of people would, I guess, if not want to do it, they would see the logic behind doing it. But then, well, how far do you go with that? Well, this child's going to have more opportunities if he's taller, like you suggested. Or this child's going to have, a better life if they have, I don't know, green eyes or whatever. Or just because it's aesthetically pleasing. I want a blonde baby. It's a very, very deep rabbit hole you could go down with this. How did we get here from Kindergarten Cop?
Sorry. It's a very interesting subject, though.
It is, yeah.
I think the moment everyone can pick and choose, like a fucking character select screen, what their child is going to look like, I think all the excitement of like a person being unique goes out the window. They're not unique anymore because they've been selected.
Oh my god! This just occurred to me. Can you imagine, like, I'm seeing it be like a fashion thing, like
oh, absolutely.
Like hair,
already a fashion thing.
Well, hairstyles change, right? And it's like, oh, this year, you get the emo look, or now it's a buzz cut or something like that.
Yeah.
What you're gonna start? I wonder if you'll start seeing that with like couples, like, because families, parents, they all like, they hang out together and they talk about their kids and whatnot, and I wonder if it's gonna be like, imagine being born because when you were being conceived, it was fashionable to have, blonde hair and brown eyes and freckles and be 6 feet tall, but in like 10 years, now it's fashionable to be, 5'10" and have green eyes and black hair. And you are now a 10-year-old and you're out of style. Like just like an old handbag or something like that. That's a very depressing thought. I'm sorry. Kindergarten Cop is not a depressing movie. I didn't expect us to...
Fun.
We're getting onto like existential philosophy and the ethics of gene manipulation after talking about Kindergarten Cop.
It's mostly one of our wildest tangents.
Oh my god! But so let's take it back.
Let's move it back. Yeah.
So other thing I kept thinking in that movie was, I couldn't tell if that was a movie that was meant for like kids or a movie that was meant for adults.
Oh, I think it was definitely one of these things where it's targeted at kids, but it has enough like in jokes for the adults that the kids don't understand.
But in the opening scene, opening like bits, Arnold Schwarzenegger goes into a drug den and blows people away with a shotgun.
But you don't see any blood. He doesn't actually shoot anyone in that scene.
Oh, that's right. He's just blowing stuff up. Yeah.
Yeah, he just like shoots a sofa and it flips 10 times out of the window.
That was awesome.
Like, it's a really cool scene. It's not a gory scene at all. He pushes someone against a wall, actually, at one point. So I guess there's a bit of...
Yeah. Well, and at the end, the guy gets shot in the chest a bunch in the bathroom. But he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
In the 80s and 90s, like, the bad guy died. That was just part of movies.
I mean, there's also the guy who got shot in the beginning scene, but I mean, it was like it wasn't visceral. There was like a red splotch on his t-shirt, and there was no like guts hanging out of the other side of him or anything.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was violent, but it wasn't gory.
Yeah, and it was quite sudden as well. It wasn't a loud bang, 'cause he was using a silencer. Also, why the fuck did he get rid of the silence pistol? Like, just walk out. I'm sure the fucking thing wouldn't have like its registration code on it. I'm sure he would have scraped that off.
Well, okay, so if you're ever planning to go out there and commit some crimes, no, don't. This is not advice. This is just how this works. In general, like, if he had kept the gun, then the cops would have had that, and they would have had hard material evidence connecting him to a murder when Schwarzenegger arrested him.
That's true, but he had no idea that he was being followed.
He didn't, but it still would be safer to get rid of the weapon, like, just as a matter of course. Mm-hmm. In general, if you...
He got rid of it 2 foot from the crime scene.
He did, but he got rid of it in a way that it was going to be destroyed. Like, it would have been crushed. There would have been no, like... no fingerprints on it. They would have had to know that he went there and then search through that entire garbage machine before the trash got crushed. The first job I had in high school, we had one of those out back. I worked in a hospital kitchen, and you basically, every time you threw trash in there, you'd press the button and it'd crush it. So chances are that would be destroyed within, minutes. That being said, a lot of times... it can be harder, like, if you're going to dispose of a weapon like that, if criminals dispose of weapons, they need to dispose of it like that, in a way that it's going to be destroyed very quickly. Because if they dispose of it in a location where it can be found, and then linked to them, that's actually worse a lot of the times than keeping it on you. But in this case, I think that's why, because they needed a reason that the police needed to go up to that town and find the wife and have the whole kindergarten subplot. If they'd found the pistol, the movie would have been over in 20 minutes.
I don't know. I just think considering he had no idea at the time that he was being followed, I think he must have like more money than sense, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I mean, he's like a crime lord, right?
That's true. I mean, he said. I mean, the whole 3 million thing was a lie anyway, so we have no real idea of his actual expenses.
Yeah. There's I think you could be right there. They may have just done that so that there was it looked good on screen and it made them need to go up and have the rest of the plot to happen.
Honestly, I think they could have done the whole thing without the assistant cop as well. I know that was the reason why he had to be the teacher, but then they could have just told him, you're going to be a teacher. I don't think she was entirely necessary as a character.
Yeah, but I think it was... They needed a reason that... And this goes back to the whole stereotype of it's weird to have a male cop. Or a male kindergarten teacher. So they needed to have a reason that he was, kind of thrust into this role when he really, it'd be weird and conspicuous for him to do. I really liked the, sorry, did you have more to say about that? I realized I just kind of...
No, I didn't.
I really liked the subplot they did with the kid that was getting abused. Like, there was one kid...
they've gone back to that, really.
Yeah, I mean, to see what happened to him. I think it's kind of just established that... So there's this one kid who's, kind of quiet in the classroom, and Arnold tries to get him to, pay attention, and this woman's avoiding him, and so he thinks that like, she must be, this guy must be the kid, and she must be the mother. The one they're looking for up there. And so one day he finally catches her, and he's like talking to her, and before he can ask her anything, she kind of just blurts out, "Oh, you're talking to me because you must have seen the marks on his legs. Just please don't report it. It was one thing. He's in therapy. He's getting help." And then Schwarzenegger realizes, this kid's getting abused by his dad at home. And so he just goes, he says, what does he say to him? He's like,
if there's another bruise, I'll
report you. I'm reporting it or something. And sure enough, the kid comes in late one day and he pulls back his shirt and there's a bruise in the back of his neck. And he goes outside, like the mother tries to stop him. He goes outside and he just, goes up. The father's sitting out there and he tries to play it off like nothing's wrong. And Schwarzenegger just punches him in the stomach.
Well, dodges the first blow because the guy throws it.
Yeah, that's true. The guy tries to hit him first.
And then, he beats his light out in front of the whole kindergarten class.
Yeah. There was a...
Which I don't know why they were all there, really. I guess it was just for the story, for the shock factor, but...
Yeah.
They wouldn't have been there in real life.
It was funny, too, when the first... just to finish up that bit, the principal then brings him into her office and is like, it's implied that she is going to be reprimanding him for what he did, and he's apologizing, and then the principal then goes like, so you have to tell me, what was it like to hit that son of a bitch?
Yep.
He's like, did it feel good? And he's like, yes, it did feel good. That was the wrong accent.
That was pretty good still.
And then afterwards, the principal's alone in her office, and you just see her squaring up this tiny, tiny little old lady, and she just throws a punch and goes like, "Wah!" It was adorable.
It was good. Yeah. Final thoughts on the movie?
Wait, sorry. Two more classic quotes that came out of this. When the fire alarm goes off, and the first time, and he's like, it's clearly a fire drill, and he's panicking and running around, and he's just like, get everything, get that out. And he's like, everyone else has orderly, gone out of the classroom and everything, and you see him come sprinting out, the kids are all running out around him, and he's got two of them under his arms.
Yeah.
It's just... And then the other one, when he's talking to the kids, and he's trying to gather evidence. So he's like, we're going to play a game. It's called Who is Your Daddy and What Does He Do? And he's getting frustrated at one point, and he's rubbing his head, and he's just like, oh. And the one kid is like, do you have a headache? It could be a brain tumor. And he just turns back to him.
And kid thinks everyone's gonna die. Is what the kid keeps saying.
And so the kid turns back to him. He's, it's not a tumor.
Oh yeah, when the real fire alarm is going off near the end.
Yeah.
And he just pulls out a gun in the middle of the school. And
That's
there's
the
kids
thing.
running past him. He gets to the top of the stairs, and he jumps around a corner because there's noise there, and 5 kids just, oh, it's you, ha ha ha. He's pointing an assault rifle at... No, was it a pistol?
It was a pistol, yeah, because he had it hidden in his sock or something.
Some machine gun.
No, I think
he's very clearly pointing a gun at them, and they're just like, oh, it's you, ha 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 ha, run past.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he did point a gun at a kid at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is... You have to keep in mind this is America in the 90s, where, A, people were just more sane about guns in general, but B, it was seen as a really, really good thing for good people to have weapons no matter where it was. So the fact that looking at it from America in the 90s, it's oh, he's a cop with a gun. Of course he has a gun. It's great that he has one because now he can shoot the bad guys. Nowadays, yeah, you're right. We're seeing it from the 2021 perspective. It's like, bless my heart, did he just point a gun at a child?
I mean, it is still kind of fucked up.
I don't know why I went with a southern accent there.
Yeah. But no, really good movie. I recommend it
Yeah.
highly. I think it was one of the. Don't get me wrong. When we watch movies, we quite often all enjoy them. But I think this was a particular favourite of ours among the three of us.
Well, the fact that we rotate between the three of us choosing movies, I think there's plenty of opportunity for, like, because we all have favorite movies. We all have seen enough that we're like, oh, that's a good one.
Well, that's the thing. It's my choice next, and I am. I always like a challenge between two movies that I want to pick.
Ooh, I just put a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, and so like, I know we keep talking about this movie and we never fucking watch it.
What movie?
We need to watch Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, I want to watch Going Postal.
I have never heard of Going Postal.
You won't know. It's a Terry Pratchett film.
Oh, okay.
Because it's really funny, and I find it really funny. That's the thing. I have prior experience with Terry Pratchett books. Like, I've read them all, so I'm naturally biased. So maybe it'll be really fucking boring for you guys. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Because I really love it. I don't know if it's just like...
I mean... What was it? Riddick was kind of like that. That was a movie that you had a lot of...
yeah.
You had a lot of...
It doesn't stand up.
Yeah. But, I mean, I still enjoyed watching it. It's just we didn't have much to say after the fact because it kind of, like, went in and out of my head fairly quickly.
Because it was an action movie. And that was more one that I enjoyed as a kid. This is one that I more enjoyed as an adult for its comedy and the way the movie thinks.
Yeah.
It's okay. Tell me if this sounds boring to you. I mean, the very premise of it in my head does sound boring.
Yeah.
But it's about what's the equivalent of the Royal Mail in America?
U.S. Postal Service, USPS.
Okay. So imagine it's like the USPS has gone out of fashion, and everyone is just using phones. I mean, okay, that's just life, I guess.
Yeah, modern day.
And it's the people who run the phone companies are like evil, not in real life, but in this example.
You hear us, AT&T? Fuck you.
They're spreading 5G from the towers and it's killing everyone. No, I'm kidding.
I'm not. I'm actually little side tangent here. I have AT&T for my it's the network my work phone uses. I should clarify that I have two cell phones. One is a phone paid for by my work, and the other one is a flip phone. And AT&T is actually really good, at least where I live. Like I have, it's actually, it gets great reception. Like the rates are pretty good, and unlimited data. So yeah. Anyway, sorry. I had to clarify that that was a sarcastic attack, AT&T.
So the old post office, the USPS, has been completely shut down at this point. No one sends a letter anymore because they're all using phones. It's a lot faster, it's cheaper, etc.
Yeah.
So the leader of the city decides, hang on, we don't want someone having a monopoly on this kind of business. So he takes this person who was about to be it was a professional thief and counterfeiter.
Yeah.
Who's been caught and is sentenced for execution. He takes that person and does a fake execution and then sets that person up as the new leader of the post office. And unless he starts making results, he will be executed.
That is such a weird premise.
Yeah, so there's like this master thief counterfeiter is set up as like the good guy against this conglomeration that's just trying to have the market.
I actually, you were asking if that premise sounds interesting. It really does.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I hope so. And yeah, it's all about showing how much meaningful receiving a letter from a loved one is, as opposed to a text message. That kind of thing. It goes into those kind of things.
Okay, so sorry. Let me know when you're.
Yeah, I was just going to finish it with saying, like, and there's a bunch of phrases that we've all forgotten. Like, back in the day, there was something called swalk, or SWALK, which meant sealed with a loving kiss, which some people would put on, like, a love letter.
Oh, yeah.
And things like that. Just really, I find it interesting, and it's also a comedy, so it's quite funny.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah. So one of the TV shows that I really, really like, it's kind of it's definitely something that, you have to, it's not going to be for everybody, but the TV show Mad Men, have you ever watched it?
I don't know.
It's it's a TV show about, it takes place throughout the entire course of the 60s in America, and it follows a series of characters who work for an advertising agency in New York, Mad Men, because the ad agencies were on Madison Avenue.
My father watched it, I think, because I remember seeing like the cover of it, but I don't think I've seen it myself.
It's quite good, and it's good for two reasons. One, it has a fairly fair look at what the culture was like at the time, and it doesn't.
The first episode of it.
Sorry, it doesn't judge the culture. It just shows you what it was like. But it also has like really good writing and really good character arcs for all of the people involved. I really enjoyed it. But one of the things is they take a contract from a telegram company. They're trying to advertise because people are using the phone now. They're not bothering with telegrams. And they're trying to think of a tagline they can use to in the marketing to sell it. And one of the phrases they end up going with is, "You can't frame a phone call." And it just made me think of that when you're talking about using the postal service versus talking on the phone. It's the same sort of concept. There's a physicality and something special about receiving a handwritten letter or something like that, rather than actually just because you call somebody up, you have a conversation, that conversation is gone. But there's a certain, like, if you have a really meaningful discourse with somebody, or you get a letter or something that says something really precious to you, like emotionally, you can keep that and hold on to it and look back on it. You can't really do that with like this. Well, I mean, this conversation is actually going to stay around because it's being recorded, but our normal conversations wouldn't be. It's all just, there is something special about that, I think. And there is
it's about the values of tradition, and whether the new latest thing is actually better than the traditional thing.
And
but we are getting on a bit.
we are well over time, but there's two final thoughts I had before we move on to the last segment here, because we're already over, so fuck it. One, I think, to your last point there, I think it depends on how you define better. Like, what is better? Is better just more efficient? In which case, yeah, obviously, phone conversations are better. But in terms of like getting across like meaning and really getting the deep, I don't know, more subtle meanings of what you're trying to convey to somebody, the actual emotion behind the words. Maybe text and traditional forms of communication are better for that. Well, this has been a very philosophical segment for one where we were talking about Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah.
And we went over time, and we only talked about that one movie. We got into a little bit of existential philosophy, but...
Well, there you go.
Last thing before I end, I think I'm actually going to have a book to talk about soon, because I just got it. It's one I've been meaning to read for a long time. It's one of those classic books. It actually fits into a lot of what we talked about in this segment. The book is A Brave New World. It's basically about... I'm not sure whether to call it a dystopian future or not, but it's a future which has essentially eschewed all non-scientific thinking, and science by definition has no moral compass. So, like, from a purely scientific perspective, there's no reason you shouldn't just shove drugs in your face all day because it makes you feel good. But from a moral perspective, it's not really a good thing. Anyway, so I haven't started reading it yet. I know the vague premises of the book, but I think we may do another book segment at some point, and I'm hoping to have it finished before that. Anyway, that's all.
Cool.
This is going to be the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast, our very long philosophy segment for some reason. Thank you all for listening, and you'll hear us again momentarily for segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. What?
We're good. Just keep... the recording's going to be a bit fucky, but go on.
Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We're on segment 3. This time, it is Long Story Short again, the game that we both enjoyed playing, I think. And Blue was shouting in my ear so much that he forgot to hit record on his end for a few seconds there.
I was trying so hard to distract Kaiser that I distracted myself.
And I didn't even flinch. Oh, God. These... Yeah, so we had a little bit of a kerfuffle in the interim there, where Blue thought of what he says was a very good idea for one of the ones he's going to be assigning me, and then forgot it. Yeah. So, but he found it again. He misplaced it in his brain, and now it's back.
The bitch came back.
The very next day, the bitch. Oh, okay, we're not singing.
Nope.
We're probably not.
Copyright strike. That's it. We're done. Too accurate.
Yeah. That's an interesting song to juxtapose with the earlier segment. Okay. So, do you want to go first, or should I? Or I can roll a die.
Let's roll for it.
Okay.
11 and up is me.
Okay. What'd you get?
Oh, I thought you said you were rolling.
Sorry.
For
it. It sounded like you were rolling something in the background. I got
no.
a 9. I'm going first.
Bam. Decided.
Okay. So this might need a little bit of a preface. This was a TV show that I really liked when I was growing up in the 90s. It was called Reboot. It was one of the first CGI TV shows. So it was entirely computer generated. It was kind of rough around the edges, especially in the earlier seasons, because it kind of had a lower budget. But very good series, and I was about to start talking about the plot before you even started the timer. So I feel fairly confident that I should be able to go through it reliably.
I suddenly realised that my dragon protector of the phone was not on my desk.
I can hear you rearranging your desk.
Okay,
all
right, we are ready.
All right, tell me when to start.
So what's it called?
A Reboot.
Reboot. Okay, 2 minutes to describe Reboot. 3, 2, 1, go.
Reboot is set inside of a computer, so essentially it's all themed around computers. Essentially the idea is that inside your computer there's this city made up by the software and programs and hardware, where you have the viruses or the villains, and that the heroes are the antivirus softwares called quote-unquote Guardians, and all the other programs are just these little things. And there's different varieties. There's what's called sprites, which are the humanoid-looking ones, except they have green and blue skin. And then there are the other little guys that sometimes look like ones and zeros and stuff. Just a bunch of little things. It's a quirky little CGI TV show at first, and so it mainly involves the idea of the main characters trying to fight off the viruses that are in the system. And there's 2 or 3 of them, and at first that's all it is. They also have this theme where every time a game is started, a giant cube will drop on a portion of the city, and if the person who is playing on the game, if they win, if the player wins, then it destroys a part of the computer, and so they have to also go into these games and win them so that the city maintains stays intact. That's the first 2 seasons, but then through a contrived series of events, the main villain, the virus, manages to get rid of the main protagonist, and then the other people try to stop him on their own, but then one of the younger sprite people, he ends up getting tricked and loses, and then ends up going out onto the web, which is like this horrifying, like, Lovecraftian nightmare universe. He goes out there, it gets very gritty in the second half. They come back to the city eventually, and then they're able to defeat the villain, and everyone lives happily ever after. God, I couldn't describe that
like
near
a carbon copy of Digimon, Tron, and Wreck-It Ralph.
I've never seen Wreck-It Ralph, but I could see it being a copy. Maybe it shares themes with Digimon and Tron, but I wouldn't say it's the same. I can admit I did a very poor job describing that. But the first 2 seasons are very happy-go-lucky, but the later seasons are really, really good, and they do get kind of like dark and gritty.
Okay.
Still a great series, but I haven't watched it in years. I actually own the whole set on DVD. All right, what did you pick?
Okay, I picked Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch.
I've never played this, but I know what it is. Okay, ready to go?
Yes.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch is originally a console game, I believe, which is about it's the people who made it. They employed Studio Ghibli to do a lot of the artwork. So it's this beautiful animated game. A boy called Oliver, he's a very young child. When he's quite young, his mother gets basically killed, and he's in a terrible state. But then a doll thing that his mother gave him, it's not really a doll, that makes it sound creepy. It's like a plushy toy, comes to life and tells Oliver not to stop crying, to stop crying, sorry, and takes Oliver away to another world. It's like a parallel dimension, where it's everything looks really old-timey, like there's cities with fortifications and stuff, and everyone has had a lot of people have had pieces of their heart taken away, whether it's their courage has been taken away, or their love has been taken away, or another key value of people's emotions been taken away, and Oliver is able to take excess amounts of happiness or courage from other people with their permission and replace it in the people who are depressed or scared or stuff like that. And so he goes across this new world, helping all the people in the different cities. Going
30 seconds left.
There's a bunch of different creatures. It's a lot they engage Pokemon mechanic, where you have your own creatures versus the others, and you can capture wild creatures. And you go to a desert with tropical paradise things. You go to a pig island where everyone has heavy armor and stuff. You go to Land of the Fairies, which is where Mr. Drippy comes from. He's a Welsh fairy that guides you. He's the toy
2 minutes time.
Fuck.
I mean, you were getting pretty deep in the plot there.
I wasn't even halfway.
Wait, really? You gotta summarize more. We're both shit at this. Let's see how we do in round 2. Some of these plots we're able to condense pretty well, and other ones the first 2 that we both chose for ourselves, we kind of just meandered along.
Well, I always try and go for one that has enough content that I can keep talking.
Yeah.
I think I just give myself too much. I didn't mention any of the evil characters.
I actually, as you were going through that, I realized I've actually seen the zero punctuation for that, because it was starting to sound familiar, and I'm like,
right.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
Very good game.
Also, completely unrelated to this game, and just a little bit of news I'm going to throw in here just to make sure that we don't get too professional. Have you heard that the Suez Canal is clogged?
No.
It's how you get from the Mediterranean to the Red Sea and out into the Indian Ocean. A boat drew a dick on a map, by sailing in the shape of a dick, and then got stuck sideways in the canal. and it's blocked all international shipping into and out of the canal. And it's just such a stupid story. I had to mention it. Oh my god. Anyway, so what's me?
Well, I was just gonna say quickly. There's a second Ni no Kuni game has been released.
Oh.
And it starts off with the President of America, like, in a limousine, and then a nuclear bomb hits a city in front of him. And he wakes up in the fairyland.
What?
With a gun.
What? What?
The second one, very weird. Not as good as the first one, I think. But I haven't played it through yet. I've just seen, like, the first part.
That's such an awesome premise. I want to play
He wakes
that.
up in the chamber of, like, a young king who's about to be, like, cooed over. What's the word?
Yeah,
Like,
overthrown.
coup d'etat.
Yeah, the coup d'etat, yeah.
And some guards, like, approach this young prince who has cat ears, because...
Why not?
And he just fucking pulls out his gun and shoots all of them.
I really want to
It's
play
like
that.
children's game.
I really, really want to play that now. Okay. All right, moving on. So what do I have to describe?
So the easy one that I have given for you is The Boys.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can only describe up to. I can only describe it to.
Close.
I can only. I can only describe it to season 2 because that's. I haven't. There's a comic book series, but I'm only going to be doing the Amazon TV series.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Right. Gladiator, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, fight!
The Boys opens up following a schlubby, nobody, nothing man who works in an electronics shop. He goes out and he's talking to his girlfriend and he's thinking about proposing to her and he loves her. And when suddenly she explodes into a mist of guts and slime and he's still holding her, like, torn off hands. It was some, knockoff version of the Flash that did this. And I think his name was like A-Train or something like that. Anyway, he goes running off. He's now, like, in this stupor, and, like, over the course of the first season, he realizes that, holy shit, these superheroes aren't, like... First of all, I haven't even told the premise. In this world, superheroes exist, but they're, like, kind of corporate superheroes. Like, there's a company called Vought that sort of, handles their PR, like, their social media, so they're like, influencers and superheroes. And covers up their occasional fuck-ups, like when this guy, like, ran through a woman. Anyway, so he gets approached by this man named, William Butcher, who claims to be from the FBI, but he talks with a Cockney accent. He basically tells him that he's the Supes do all this really fucked up shit behind the scenes, and he needs his help to take him down. It culminates with him realizing that I don't want to be a part of this. He goes back to his workplace where the invisible guy realizes that he's been working with this Butcher guy and goes there to kill him, this other superhero. They end up killing the invisible guy, and for the rest of the series it ends up being the Boys, this group of, like, underground essentially terrorists trying to take down the big company and all the superheroes. In season 2, they find out the superheroes are artificially created by the company, and there's a big conspiracy behind the scenes. Also, the new superhero that is introduced in that season is secretly the first superhero who is invented by the Nazis.
Okay. Good job.
Okay. When you said 30 seconds, I was like, shit, I haven't even gotten halfway through season 1 yet.
You haven't got through the first episode, I don't think.
Yeah, I was still on episode 1. I tend to, like, I did the same thing when I was describing Kindergarten Cop earlier. Like, I tend to get stuck up on the build-up.
When you did describe the invisible guy going after the guy at his workplace, that is my favourite scene in the whole series. Like, the whole franchise. When it's playing The Boys Are Back in Town.
Yeah.
And he's just, like, beating the crap out of him with a, like, crowbar or something.
Yeah, I think he hits him with a TV at one point.
Yeah. I mean, he hits him with a fucking car.
Yeah. That was a really... I really want to rewatch. Season 2 wasn't quite as good as season 1, but it was still pretty good.
And it gets stuck into the story. It's not as action-filled, although it does have its odd moments, like exploding the C4 on the guy's ass.
Yeah. Oh god, that movie's very gory too. There's apparently a episode in season 3, which, plug your ears if you don't want to hear something. Well, it's not gruesome, but there's apparently an episode called Herogasm,
Oh yeah,
which is
I
about...
think I told you about this, didn't I?
Yeah, you may have been the one that told me. Yeah, it's just apparently a giant superhero orgy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it lost its way a little bit in season 2, but it's still hands down better than a lot of the other crap that is out there right now. Anyway, okay, so I got you.
Okay, what's my my challenge?
So God, there's a lot of these. Describe the plot to Sonic Adventure 2.
Oof.
Okay, ready?
Hang on, I need to get a basic concept in my head first.
Okay. I'll give you 10 seconds.
I'm one of those people who watched the cutscene of a game once, and then the next time I skip it. And considering I've been playing this since I was about 5 years old,
You should know at least a little bit.
Okay.
Ready? All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, the plot of Sonic Adventure 2 is very loose, but it starts with Sonic escaping prison because he's been framed by Dr. Robotnik, who set free Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog then started causing chaos in an attempt to get the Chaos Emeralds. That's why they arrested Sonic. Sonic broke free to try and find out what's going on. He speaks to the president, I think? I could be thinking of a different game. That might be Sonic Adventure 1. And he is trying to stop Robotnik, as he always is. Robotnik's gathering up the emeralds. I think Shadow's gathering up the emeralds separately to Robotnik. But they eventually make it to the space station, and there's the maker of the original of the space station was, I think, Robotnik's father, and I think Robotnik had a different scientist had a daughter who was like really close to Shadow, and so Shadow's having all these flashbacks of this girl and being on the station, although he can't remember exactly why he was there. And then the Chaos Emeralds go into the reactor on the space station, and there's a massive fucking Chaos Beast that appears, and I can't remember why. And
You got 30 seconds.
Okay, then Knuckles and Rouge are fighting off against each other, also to gather the emeralds. Tails also does something, I think.
10 seconds.
There's a Chow Garden, which is the only important thing in the whole game, where you basically birth a little Chow and then train it to like fight other Chows and run races.
That's time. Shut up.
Oh.
You actually, I didn't think it was going to be that hard for you. You got a remarkable amount right, but so the scientist is not Robotnik's father, I don't think.
I think that
there were multiple
father
scientists.
was involved in it. I can't remember why.
He was, yeah, but there were multiple. They did talk to the president, but it was Tails, not Sonic, I think.
Yeah, because there's the mission where she has to catch up with him on the freeway.
Yeah, and So the Beast is actually the prototype for Shadow. Shadow was a genetic super weapon created. But yeah,
and then Super Sonic and Super Shadow.
Yeah, they go off and they fight the laser beam. I do like your description of Tails is also there. That's pretty much his involvement in the game.
In just the whole franchise in general.
He's just kind of there, and Sonic does other stuff. Anyway, yeah, it's just... Also, it's always weirded me out in Sonic games and media where, like, there's, like, not even implied, but sort of a romantic interest for Sonic and Shadow, and it's a human. And it's like, Sega,
it wasn't romantic, though. It was more of a, like, she's my owner kind of thing, I felt like, in that game.
Yeah.
So at least that kind of made a bit more sense, because I mean, they're not the same species.
I don't know. All I'm saying is, Sega, you caused furries.
No, I think that fucking Cats thing, animation, what's it called? Battle Cats or something?
I'd actually go back further. I'd say it's because of Disney.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway. let's not go too deep down that.
Not dwell on that. Okay, you ready for your challenge of this month?
Okay, I am ready.
Okay, so I got two things that one, if not the other.
Okay.
First one, because I don't think you know actually all that much about this franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I want the Lord of the Rings story.
Oh God, yeah, I've seen the movies through like once, but
Yeah, perfect. Okay, that's enough.
do I have to go? Is Lord of the Rings? Am I including The Hobbit? Because The Hobbit I've actually read.
No, don't include The Hobbit.
Okay, that's good because that one I know because I've read it. But
yeah,
okay, this is actually gonna be
Fellowship of the Ring to The Return of the King.
Okay, got it.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Also, this is a lot of content, so do you want me to tell you every 40 seconds so you can split it into 3?
No, I'll stick with the same one, and I'm gonna try to talk as fast as I can. So
okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Lord of the Rings, the plot starts where there's an army. There's this big bad guy called Sauron. He makes some rings. He uses some of the rings to control some human kings. The human kings don't like it. Neither do the elves. Neither do the dwarves. They form an army to fight him and his army. They end up beating him. They slice his finger off and he loses the ring. And they kick his ass. They go to destroy the ring. Unfortunately, the one human guy is a fucking dumbass and he decides, I want the ring because I want to be powerful. He takes it back. It makes him powerful, except it also gets him killed. The ring gets lost into a river. It's found by this little midget who kills his friend, and then he decides to turn into this little gremlin. And he holds it for a long time until Frodo Baggins, the main character, his father or grandfather, whatever, finds it. He takes it back with him, goes off on adventures. That's the plot of The Hobbit. Frodo eventually inherits it from him. Gandalf notices he has it, and they realize they need to destroy it because the big bad guy from the before, he's still alive. He's connected to the ring. Now he's a big eyeball in the sky. So they go off on a journey, and they go to find some elfish people in the elf city. They get together, they have humans, and they have elves, and they have dwarves, and they're all, arguing over who's going to destroy it. The one dwarf guy smashes it with a hammer, and it blows up in his face because he's a dumbass. They go off, and they form the Fellowship of the Ring. These 7 guys, they go off, try to, destroy the ring. One of the human people betray them because he wants the ring, and he realizes he made a mistake. So it splits up, and now it's just Frodo and his fat friend that go off to try to get to the mountain, and the rest of them go off on adventures on their own. There's a whole bunch of political machinations. They help these horse people, and then they go to this big white city, and then there's a siege, and then a guy jumps off a building, and then there's a big battle, and they fight the eyeball guy and his army again. Oh, and some trees kick this other guy's ass, and there's a flood, and it's really funny. And then eventually they get into the mountain, and Frodo almost goes no, I want the ring, but his fat friend bites his finger off and throws the ring in the fire or something like that, and everyone lived happily ever after.
That was very fast. I was very impressed by the first part where you were describing Sauron getting his finger cut off.
I said, I was going to try to talk as quickly as possible.
Yeah, whenever you got to insulting a character, you made extra venom in your voice. Then a midget finds it, and then Frodo's fat friend helps him.
It wasn't meant to be vitriolic. I just was. I tend to it's like an insult. You always emphasize an insult.
It just made it very funny.
I didn't even realize I was doing that.
Yeah. You did refer to Saruman after the fact, but you did get him in.
Oh yeah,
the Ents, I mean.
Yeah, I forgot about it because that's one of my favorite scenes in the movies is where the trees go and fight him. I always get tingles down my spine when the Ents the trees will go to war, whatever he says.
The March of the Ents, I think it's called.
Yeah. That's fucking awesome.
The Bilbo is Frodo's father. Yep.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
And you did cover a lot of the fucking points.
I got a little fuzzy with all the human conflicts because I know there were horse people and there was that weird creepy guy.
Rohan.
Yeah.
So, the guy jumping off the building, it wasn't just a little building.
Oh yeah, it was.
It was like a cliff.
Yeah, because he was the douche that was in charge of the White City, right?
Frodo of Rohan are called to aid by It wasn't Osgiliath, because Osgiliath is the place in front of this city. Minas Tirith.
Okay.
The place with the silvery tree, I think. Yes, the asshole there gets set on fire and then sprints to the end of that long walkway.
I couldn't remember if he got set on fire or if he just went crazy. So he did get set on fire. Okay.
Yeah, so the camera pans out real far and you can just see this little black dot of a guy flailing his arms running towards the edge of this cliff, and it's just inevitable.
Okay. I imagine there's a lot more in the books, because I've never read the books.
I've never read the books either. I've read The Hobbit, but not...
Yeah, same. Yeah, I've read The Hobbit.
But no, I think you did remarkably well for that, considering how much content there is. Gollum bites his finger at the end.
Gollum, okay. I knew...
he falls off with the ring.
I thought the fat friend did it for the protein hit. Oh my god.
One of my favourite games related to Lord of the Rings is called Lord of the Rings Conquest, and once you complete the game, you get to play as the evil mode, and that's basically where Frodo at the end gets consumed by the ring, and you go from Frodo being evil and leaving Mount Doom up until the Scourging of the Shire at the end, where you play as Sauron and the Balrog, and you're just annihilating the hobbits.
That actually, God, that sounds badass.
It's really quite fun. It's actually a multiplayer game, but I don't know if it's on Steam or not, because it's on PS3.
A little side note here. I really don't think there's enough games out there that do a good job.
Embrace the dark side.
Yeah. Let you play as the villain and do a good job of it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it really did get me interested in the franchise again when I played it. But yes. So
I was a little bit meaner with mine.
Oh no.
I'm not sure. I have a backup for this if you can't do this one, or you just don't know pretty much anything about it. But so I was going to say, describe the plot of the game Hades.
Okay. You know what? I don't know anything about it, but I'm still willing to take it on.
Okay, let's go then. All right, we're going to do 2 minutes on the clock. Let me know when you're ready.
Get my thoughts.
Yep.
Okay. Get ready for a lot of made up shit.
That's half the fun. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, in the game Hades, which is available on the Steam store, you play as the son of Hades. I can't remember the son's actual name, but we'll call him Jeff. So Jeff, you want to leave hell, and you want to see what it's like in the upper world. But your father will not let you. So you have to battle through all the demons of hell and ascend through the layers of hell to get to the surface. So you have your pet dog Cerberus as well. Obviously the giant 3-headed dog, very cute doggo. Wood's pet. You walk past all the lines of the damned down in Hades who are going and speaking to your father, and I don't know what they're doing there. They're doing spreadsheet shit. So you set out and you can choose from a selection of weapons, and then you go and fight the monsters of hell. And every
1 minute.
couple of stages, you get to how much?
1 minute.
Okay, you get to a boss, which I'm guessing is the Guardians of Hell kind of thing, and you have to defeat each of the bosses. I think the first one is some twin sisters or something, if I recall. As you're going along, you also get favor from the pantheon, favor from the gods, who give you little buffs, and are they're chill with you. I don't know why they would be friends with the son of Satan, but they're hey, have some
30 seconds
powers in your ass. And so that makes you a little bit more powerful. You fight your way through the levels. They get progressively harder. I'm assuming it's the different levels of hell. So one's probably ice hell, the other's toxic hell, I'm assuming.
10 seconds.
And then eventually you get to the surface. You fight Hades himself, your father. If you win, then you get to leave hell and you've won the game.
Okay, you had 2 seconds left. That was pretty good. You got a remarkable amount right, and some of the things you got wrong were hilarious. So the guy's name is Zagreus. but I liked calling I was trying hard not to laugh when you called him Jeff.
He actually looks like Jazzy Jeff.
He does. He has the same sort of look.
If he was black.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Jazzy Jeff is black, but so I should point out that I think Jazzy Jeff was the DJ that went along with Will Smith during his rap career.
Oh,
I think I was trying to. I was thinking the other day, like, where did I think of that name? And I'm like, I think I heard it from that. I'll have to look that up after this. Anyway, so yeah, his name was Zagreus. You're actually not just trying to see the outside world. You're also trying to find your mother, who is up above, and Persephone. No longer, Persephone. She no longer resides in. And also, Hades is the name of the god and the realm.
Yeah, I knew that, but I was like not entirely sure, so I just kind of skipped over that.
Yeah. And so it's not like the levels of hell. So like there's the fiery torment level. There's the like just deep dark level, and then there's the in Greek mythology, heaven was also in Hades. So there's also a place called Elysium, which I think it's called Elysium anyway. It's basically where all the good and heroic and awesome people go, and they live a life of leisure and beauty for the remainder of their afterlife. Right. So you actually fight through there as well. And yep, you do fight Hades at the end. I'm trying to think if you got anything else wrong. Oh, the first boss, it is sisters, but it's not twin sisters. There are 3 of them, and they're the 3 Furies, the 3 Furies.
I know they had like whips.
Yeah, they do have whips.
That's why I remember that, but
no, but yeah, that was remarkably close to the plot.
Oh shit.
A good chunk of it you just need to know Greek mythology, but yeah, that was pretty close. All right, and that actually brought us neatly to around 30 minutes for the segment.
Bam!
Look at that. I was worried we wouldn't actually have enough time.
So professional.
Sorry, enough content.
Well, to be fair, I didn't think I'd have enough to say about Hades, but actually when I started talking, I was like, okay, there is quite a few levels to this as well. Also, I was trying to like aim it towards the Dante's 9 levels of hell, but I was like, I don't think there were 9 levels.
No, yeah, Hades didn't have 9.
I think it was like 4.
Dante's 9 levels of hell, and that when was that written? That was in the medieval times, I think.
Right.
Dante's Inferno is the book we're referring to. Anyway, any final thoughts before we close out the podcast?
Well, have we got any like spoilers for next week? Anything that we're planning to do in this week?
Well, I don't know. Well, it's your turn for movie night. We've already teased that. Yeah, I've already talked about the fact that there's a book I'm planning on starting to read, and it's actually not a terribly long book, so I might be able to get through it in a week. Yeah.
In fact, I'm sorry, this is just kind of a by-the-by thing. Do you want to watch some movie night tonight? Because I'm actually kind of game for it if you don't have D&D.
I do have D&D. I think we're looking at doing it around 3:30 or 4. So
okay.
Sorry, this is not.
Sorry, this is just our calendar, like social calendar.
Oh my god! In case you wanted to know what we're doing tonight.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think there's anything really to tease besides that. We've already talked about what we're going to be watching, what we're going to be doing.
I'm going to be having chicken nuggets for dinner tonight.
So we're going to be watching a movie about the post office. So presumably we will talk about the
corporations.
Well, I was going to say maybe we'll go on a tangent about just existential dread. Like still can't believe we talked that long for Kindergarten Cop. Anyway.
Yeah, no, we'll just go some really random fucking direction.
Yeah. All right, this is going to be the end of episode 35 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and hopefully you'll tune in again next week.
Have a wonderful week.